What is up, everybody? Escape211 here, and we are going to be doing a reaction video to the video that they just dropped today. Well, right now it's today, but when my reaction video comes out, it's going to be the following day. So you're watching this the following day. This came out yesterday. This is a video that Mech Arena posted. A lot of people have been talking about it and asking for my input or my reaction to it. Overall, I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure, and we'll have to watch all this stuff. But just want to say that my version, the quality that I'm doing, has a slight lag to it. So I will link below the original video. If you have not seen it, you probably already have, just so you can go to their channel and watch it as well. All right. So with that all said, here we go. I'm going to go, and we'll stop at certain points when we want to address stuff. All right. So let's do this.
Hello everyone, I'm Freya from the Mech Arena community team.
Freya.
And today I'm here to announce a significant development in the world of Mech Arena. Get ready for what we are calling the Mech and Weapon Grade update. As Mech Arena evolves and more mechanics are added, it's important to us that the game stays intuitive to new players. And that's where the Mech and Weapon Grade update comes in. The Mech and Weapon Grade update is an important step towards a comprehensive overhaul of Mech Arena's rarity hierarchy. It's intended to create a clearer distinction between a common item and a legendary one.
All right, so this is a good place to stop. She said a mouthful already. If you catch what she's saying here already, and I love Freya, so awesome. Always glad to have her here. But she's saying that there's going to be a comprehensive overhaul of everything. So like we're going to have more of a distinction between all the rarities, which I love because we used to have something like that when we were in beta. Now she did say the focus here is on keeping it intuitive for new players. So that's probably where their main focus is going to be, but it makes a lot of sense to try to simplify this whole system and then make it something that overhauls it for everybody while keeping the new player in mind. All right, so I think that makes a lot of sense. It also, like I said, makes me think of beta. And as she shows the examples here, she has something common that on the progress path starts at 1 star. Legendary actually starts at 5 stars, but at least keeping the difference in that. Now, I don't really know how star rating is going to play into this, or if it's just going to be a total just rarity element to it. Years ago when they had beta, there wasn't a whole lot of like star and rank up system that they had. So I don't really know how that's going to play out, but we'll see. All right, so let's keep going here.
So here's what will actually happen. The headline is that we'll be rolling out a comprehensive game update that will place mechs and weapons into more appropriate grades and ensure that their stats are appropriate for their grade.
Awesome.
Part of the goal here is to make legendary gear feel truly legendary when compared to, for example, rares. We want to ensure that legendary mechs are given the respect they're due and that taking one down feels like an accomplishment. The same goes for weapons. It makes sense that a legendary weapon, such as the carbine, should feel more legendary than a rare weapon like the rocket mortar.
All right, so here again, I'm loving the idea of all this, right? As she showed, there are certain legendary mechs like Brickhouse and like Gatecrasher. Obviously, Surge got an update a while ago and it has pretty much been worth legendary status. It's top tier, but there's plenty of other legendary stuff that's pretty bad, all right? This example for the weapons is great. Carbines, again, were really good, really all-rounder and useful when we were in beta, but now it's pretty bad. There's not a whole lot of instances where you need it, and it's still something that we can get on the progress path, and it definitely is not really carrying its weight versus the other legendary type of stuff, or even the lower grade stuff you can get. Here's the perfect example, right? Rocket mortars still have a lot of prominence, still important in the meta, but carbines, not so much, all right? We shouldn't really have rares generally overtopping legendary, at least in a very intuitive sense. So I love this. Now, this can have a lot of good and bad in terms of what it means for all of the mechs and all the items, because a lot of us have invested in different ways, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. But overall, like the idea of this sounds really good for shaking stuff up. So let's keep going.
We believe that giving each mech or weapon its proper place in the hierarchy will make gear grade more meaningful, and not just a label that can be disregarded.
Right.
This in turn will give all players a clear idea of what they should be aiming for when it comes to progression. You might also find that older items you haven't used recently see a value surge and go back into your regular rotation.
Yes.
Naturally, organizing all of our weapons and mechs into a key hierarchy will result in some significant changes. For example, Killshot and Panther are two of the first mechs that are unlocked on the progress path. As a result, almost every player will have them in their hangar and probably knows how powerful they really are.
Absolutely, top tier type
In fact,
stuff.
they're so powerful, we thought they deserved something better than an uncommon designation. So we're bumping them up to epic.
Makes sense.
Of course, handing an epic mech to a new player shortly after they start the game wouldn't make much sense. So we'll be replacing Killshot and Panther on the progress path. Instead, players who join the game after the update will first receive two new mechs, named Slingshot and Puma.
All right, so we finally get to see these new mechs. I know I have it at a bad frame, but you can stop it where you want. But it finally makes sense as to why they're doing this. And as you look at these, yeah, they almost look like they're second copies, right? There's a lot of similarities and in the overall design of these. Now, I'm assuming these are going to be uncommon. They still don't say, but if they're bumping Killshot and Panther up to epic, that means these are probably going to be common, uncommon, rares. I'm assuming they're going to stay uncommon. All right. So my guess is that they're going to function very similarly, but just have a lower grade to them. Now, this can be seen as good or bad because it means that Panther and Killshot are going to have more value, which is what you want end game. And based on what they're saying of it being epic, I assume, we don't know yet, but I assume that means like epics and legendaries, when you're talking of top tier, are probably going to actually be top tier, at least in terms of stats and value when you're talking end game. Again, think of how a Surge used to be versus how a Surge is now. I'm hoping or thinking that that's what we're going to see in a lot of other mechs that we have seen sit on the sidelines, right? We're going to see maybe more redox, more brickhouse, all the kind of stuff that you'd want to see. That's really interesting to me. I have no idea what that means, and they've talked about that a little bit with me, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end too, but the idea of what all that means. Now, since they're changing Killshot and Panther to do this, that they're going to be outside of the progress path like this, and these guys are going to be on it, I don't know exactly what that means for the rest of everything, all right? Like I was saying before, we have plenty of stuff that we use end game now. I'm talking Stalker, Shotgun 8s, longarm 12s are even quite comparable, all right? Guardian, all this stuff that is like either uncommon or rare that we all use. Plenty of players have maxed. It's all meta based. So what is going to happen to those? I did ask them about that. I said, like, are you guys going to move that in a higher grade or like do something with that on the progress path? How are they going to be affected? Is there going to be compensation? They understood. I mean, they were like all good points, and it is something that we're discussing. So I know that a lot of this they're still trying to work out all the details on because, like they said, this is a massive overhaul. It's comprehensive. So I think there's still a lot of like in betweens and different things they're trying to tweak. But I think that the approach that they're doing in general makes a lot of sense, at least for like thinking of the new player and all of the different things that we've been struggling with even up into endgame. All right, so overall makes a lot of sense, and there'll probably be some casualties along the way of certain mechs or weapons, but I hope and I think that this is all going to be for better. All right, so overall sounds like a positive change, but let's keep moving along here. Existing players can think of these as starter versions of Killshot and Panther, right, who will be removed from the progress path. New players will be given other ways to get their hands on those epics. And if you already have Killshot and Panther in your hangar, don't worry about a thing. They won't be taken away from you. Yep. You will keep the mechs you have. This change will mostly affect the way new players are onboarded. Okay. Now, I'm hoping that some of this change obviously is going to affect all of us players, but as she said, and as we kind of talked about in my previous video, we're going to be able to get Killshot and Panther already, or not be able to. If you already have them unlocked, you have them. You're not going to lose them. Excuse me. So you don't have to worry about that. And then, of course, you'll have access to these new mechs. But I'm assuming if you already have Killshot and Panther, you're not really going to use these other ones, even though we talked about them being quote-unquote second copies. They're not going to have the same level of value. I'm assuming in stats and maybe their ability. I'm not really sure. Again, a lot of that is like kind of up in the air. We don't really know how they're going to be separating the rarities yet. But yeah, let's move on.
Naturally, when Killshot and Panther make the switch to epic grade, their blueprints will become epic as well.
Yep.
As a result, the drop rate of those blueprints will be brought into line with other epic mechs like Zephyr or Redeemer.
Okay, makes
and
sense.
If that change didn't take you by surprise, perhaps this one will. At a later date, the progress path itself will be getting an overhaul. That's right! The progress path we all know and love is going to be replaced with a new system that contains every mech and weapon in the game.
That is crazy, all right? That alone should make a lot of people happy, that she's saying everything will be in there. Now, I know when we talked a little bit about this on the partner chat, and as well as how she said it earlier, she did say that Panther and Killshot will be taken off the progress path. It makes me wonder if that means there's going to be separate progress paths, or there's going to be some other way to attain it. Because when she said that, you know, they're going to be taken off the progress path, but then later on here saying that everything is on the progress path, it does make me wonder if that's just like a difference in the way she's saying it here, or if it actually means that we're going to have either different methods of getting it. But suffice to say, I am excited by this because there's been so many issues for so many people about getting stuff. Like if you miss the window to get Stalker, you know, tough luck unless you want to spend money for it or something like that. Same thing with plenty of other stuff. Tengu, Shotgun 8s, all this stuff that like everybody uses and plays with. Unless you're willing to fork over some cash right now, you're probably not going to be able to get it. And even you kind of have to wait for the offer to come up, okay? So this is a huge and awesome change. It is way overdue. And all that still, though, I think is very interesting, all right? But we're getting close to the end, and then I have a few more things I want to say, but we'll keep going here.
Mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with this one, so we'll share more details as we get closer to release.
All right.
Okay, that's an overview of the most significant changes that are coming to the game in the near future. We're confident that this update is going to make item grade a lot easier for new players to understand, which in turn will help them to see what they should be aiming for. It goes without saying that a comprehensive overhaul like this is bound to cause a bit of trepidation, but please, rest assured that we are going to be as communicative as possible throughout the process. And if you have any questions, you can always reach us in the comments. We'll go through them and address as many as we can in a dedicated Q&A post on our social media accounts.
All right.
So make sure to follow us there and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our future Mech Arena content.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Speak to you soon.
There we go. Sorry. All right. I didn't mean to stop it quickly on Freya. Anyway, all right. Overall, I am excited for this change. This actually sounds like it could shake a ton of stuff up, bring some stuff out of the dusty background that it's been sitting in, and allow for us to get all this goodies that we've wanted to get for so long. All right, obviously there's lots of questions that remain. What will this do to other stuff that we've invested heavily into? Like I said, they're talking about that, and they may find different ways that they're going to compensate for that. I also asked about the idea of like, okay, what about achievements, right? That's another concern people have, especially when you think of some of these that are really hard and focused on like autocannon or RPG. If those are going to be way lower grade now, like that's going to be super hard to do. And even the ones that have like shotguns are going to be tough to do if they're going to be of a lesser quality if you're a higher level player. And they said, we understand that, and we know that that's going to sound like a beast. So it is something that they're talking about, but honestly, that's something that is probably secondary to this. Doesn't mean that they're never going to touch it, but I mean, this is a massive overhaul, and it's going to take some time. Now, they did not give any idea as to a date as to when this is going to happen, and this is the first news. I kind of think of it similar to like a devlog where they're dropping the news, but this has some pliability in the sense of like it might change a little bit and that kind of stuff. So we do have to keep all that in mind. I'm sure we're going to get more details as they come out. I'm hoping that we get more videos of like how it all actually looks and works, as well as like more shots, screenshots, and explanation, because even though this video was really helpful, it also just leaves us with a lot more questions, right? So that's going to be difficult. I also said, what about the stuff that already feels legendary and over the top? I'm talking mainly about EM rifles, okay? I don't know if you guys have seen it already, but Gangsta Jabs did a video where he talks about the top hangers, and spoiler alert, it's like covered in EM rifles, all right? You should still see it because it's a great video. I'll actually link that below so you can look at it too. It's a recent one, but in looking at it, it's obvious that like the top end game, even top players are saying like, yeah, I have to use like multiple EMs to be competitive. That's just how it is. If you're top end competitive, you have to rely on this weapon just because of it's so prominent in the meta. So my question is, like, if this is already legendary, we're not going to make it more powerful, are we? I hope not. And are we going to bring it in line, or are we going to make everything as insane as that weapon is? So that was kind of my question. And they definitely said, like, they've seen the video. They know what I'm talking about as far as like EMs and stuff like that. So it sounds like they're aware of a lot of stuff and they want to incorporate all that as well, but there's just a lot to focus on. All right, but this is one of those things that like, it's major. It's a major thing. It's a good thing in my mind, but it just means there's a lot of moving parts to it. They're basically overhauling everything. And I know I keep talking about beta, but it honestly reminds me of beta. All right, back in that day, when you would go along the progress path, pretty much everything was there. Sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold if you can't tell. Back in that day, everything was in beta or on the progress path, and it was still based on its star rarity, all right? So even if you got offers to buy things early, you couldn't get like a brick house at 2 stars for $5. You had to pay $50 to get it at 5 stars, all right? They maintained the rarity of stuff. And that was another thing I said. I'm like, if you're going to maintain rarity on everything, you guys are probably going to have to cut those offers where you have like a 2 or 3 star surge that people can get super early game. Because not only does it destroy this whole system that you've made, but it also like will just break how everything works, period. I mean, you're already giving someone end game material that they can start super early and just keep throughout the whole game, which is not necessarily ideal in terms of like having a progression system. Right? So it kind of ruins the idea. It kind of, devalues some of the stuff that they're trying to do. So, overall, very interesting stuff. But that's really all I was going to say for this one, guys. I mean, there's probably things that I missed or different things that we have questions about. What do you guys think? Do you think this is good or bad? What do you like, dislike about it? And what are some stuff that you'd like to see? Like thinking of those legendaries like brickhouse or redox or gatecrasher even. Some of this stuff that you think is kind of shelved that would be really cool to see come back out in the forefront. What do you think is going to be the case for these items and weapons? And what do you think they're going to change about them, man? I'd love to hear some ideas, as I'm sure, you'd love to tell them to me. All right, so that's all we got for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you out there on the battlefield.